QTCinderella, hello! My name is Charlie's a Tree. I was watching you stream the other day, and you said you felt like you had hit a plateau, so I thought I would try and analyze a couple of your games and give some helpful feedback. I'm only like 16, 1700, so nothing Levy or Hikaru crazy, anything like that. But I hope, if you do watch this, I hope it's useful. I think some of these principles would be really helpful, and I think you are so close to breaking 1,000. So hopefully this is helpful. Anyways, I'll get into the analysis. This is for the first game that I want to go over. I'll go over 3 games, and I'm not going to spend a crazy amount of time on any of them. I'm going to fast forward generally to what I think more important parts are, or parts with instructional value, and then I'll go on. I don't know if I said I'm going to do 3 games, and then I'll have some comments at the end. But I hope this is helpful if you watch it. So anyways, so this game started e4, e5, and so the first moment I wanted to point out was right here. And I'm sure you've heard that general principles in chess can be broken all the time, and of course that's true. And one of these general principles is knights before bishops, and it's really awesome that you wanted to get your bishop out and developed and prepared a castle. That's fantastic. But if you are ever unsure about whether to move a bishop or knight first, generally a lot of times knights can be better. And one of the reasons here is so that the knights, knights don't move like that. The knights will protect your center, your central pawns, which here he has the opportunity to take it. He doesn't take it, which is fantastic. But if you are unsure about knights or bishops, think about, strongly consider moving your knight. And then on to some of the next ones. And then here, another quick instructional thing, which I think, like, there's nothing wrong with d6 at all. Nothing wrong with it at all. It's a great move. But an idea that I don't know if you've heard you should consider is maybe possibly dropping your bishop back so that if he takes it, you can take with your a-pawn and open the file for your rook. Again, there's nothing wrong with the move that you played, but if you haven't heard that idea before, I think it's important that you do. So going on. And then this next sequence, this is amazing that you saw this. Even though your bishop was under attack, you still were like, nah, I'm coming for you, man. And so, no, this was just a fantastic sequence. And then he moves his queen, and then you fork it. It's amazing. Look at you go. Yeah, that's just fantastic. And so, next soon, this is a fantastic move too. You are ripping open his center towards his king. Great job. And so here, it's really great that you saw that the queen was pinning the pawn. And sometimes you just forget. Stuff like that happens. Nothing to fret about. It just happens. So, whoops, don't be upset or anything when things like that occur. But yeah. So anyways, we go. And then here, the reason that f5 is way better than b6 is because a couple reasons. The first reason is because it blocks this bishop off. The second reason is actually it will win material because so say f5 and then the knight, like if it moves, then you get to go e5 and the bishop is pinned. But the tactical reasons aside, what I want to get across is that you are, by pushing f5, you are attacking the center immediately. You are asserting your control, and you are shredding all of the obstacles in the way of his king. So that's why f5. And b6, I know it prepares c5, but you can do the same thing, but better with f5 because it's attacking the knight. So yeah. And then, okay, here is another instructional moment. Even though taking here isn't necessarily bad, it's worth thinking, like, the better move is the pawn up, because you would win the bishop. But that aside, principally speaking, because you can still, like, you're not in any rush. I mean, he can push it up and block, and so this technically would be the best. But principally here, we're talking principally. You should consider g6 instead of taking, because you're already up so much material. You're up a queen, so you're not desperate to win pawns or anything or of the like. so it's worth thinking about. If you just push your pawn up, you're now in a fortress. He doesn't have any way to exploit it. There's no dark squared bishop or a queen that he has. Whoops, not from there. Or queen that can make this dangerous. And so you should consider, by just pushing your pawn up, now his rook is blocked in. His other, like, nothing's getting in. Nothing's getting in. So that's why pushing the pawn up would be better than taking. So going on. And then, so here, and this is just unlucky. Things like this happen and it stinks. But don't be down on yourself when things like this happen. I know it's easier said than done, of course. But, you know, I think there's a lot to learn from this particular game, and that's okay. So yeah, great job. I think overall, that tactical pattern that you had where you won as queen is fantastic. That's amazing that you saw that. And I think, you know, the idea, the principle of attacking the center and then shutting down any arteries to your king will be very helpful for you in the long run. So that's the first game. We will now go on to the second game. Okay, so this is the second game, and you did outstanding this game. So e4, e5 again, and so we do have the same little blip with moving your bishop out, and so, and again, moving your bishop out isn't always bad, of course, move before your knight, but he does have the opportunity to take. He doesn't, of course, and so, but knights before bishops if you're unsure what to do. Okay, so going on. And then this was the next move. I thought this was great. You had you saw that forcing him to play g4 would be really bad, probably, and it would seriously structurally weakness his king side, and by maintaining this pin, when he can't go back with the bishop, is going to be great. So good job that you saw that. That's really fantastic. And then so here, this is one of those things, and honestly, like, this just happens too. You forget, like, they play such a stupid move, and you're like, I knew that move was dumb, but like, you just don't see it coming sometimes. And so, like, you just didn't think about it, and that's okay. And so he goes, and then putting your knight in the center is also fantastic. And the computer says, like, kicking the knights away is better, but I think putting your knight in the center when he has no way to get it out, good ideas that you have. And then he seriously weakens his king side, and so yeah. And so here's the next instructive moment. I thought the reason that pushing your c pawn instead of your a pawn is better is because by pushing your c pawn, you are helping structurally your center control. And so you want to, at some point, be able to shred open the center. If you are the one doing it, you don't want to have your center shredded open. Okay, and so by pushing your c pawn, you're not only forcing his bishop back, you are also giving yourself the opportunity to open the center and control it, and that's fantastic. That's what we want to see. So that's why that would be better than your a pawn push. But again, like, this isn't bad, not bad. And then yeah, so this again, so the computer says this is fine, but just slightly inferior, minusculely, but principally, if you don't have to damage your pawn structure, don't. Unless you can think of a good reason to do so. And so, for example, a good reason to do so was, say, like, if there was no pawn here and this pawn was going to be passed, which means that if a passed pawn means that there are no pawns opposing it. So if, say, this pawn was not here and this became a passed pawn, maybe not in this particular position because he has so many pieces that can defend this pawn advancing forward, but generally that's an idea. Like, if you want to break your pawn structure up in order to create a passed pawn, that might be a good reason. Or say if there were two pieces here, you would want to take with the pawn so that you could fork them with a pawn instead of taking with a bishop, because, you know, the bishop wouldn't be able to fork two pieces because it would just be an even trade. But here, generally, as a principle, it's really good actually that you're willing to damage your pawn structure, because I know there are people who they just won't do it, and that's bad for their chess. They're unwilling. They can't cope with double pawns, and that's not good, because they're something to think about, but it's not something that should be completely determinative all the time. So great job that you're willing to do that. However, here I think taking with the bishop would have been slightly better, but no worries, because you come out with this beautiful sequence, and then he loses his bishop, and then oh my gosh, and then here you just shred open the center. This is fantastic. And then he could have taken the bishop, but who cares? You're already crushing him. And then this next sequence, I thought was gorgeous, where you win the rook, and so now you're just up so much material, up a full rook, and then coming in, yep. And so I don't think there was anything else really to show in this game. You just crushed it from there. Shredded open the center, like in the first game. You forgot to do in this game, by shredding open the center and by continuously adding more and more pressure onto the general direction of where his king was. You just forced the win. It was beautiful. So great job, and he was almost out of time too. So okay, now we will go on to the third game. Okay, so here we are in the third game, and I wanted to comment real quick here that it's really awesome that you have put in the effort to learn the Stonewall, that you've put in the effort to learn the system, because nobody below 1,000, nobody below even 1,500 a lot of times will actually look at a system and a sequence of moves to create that actually are a legitimate opening. So really good job to you to learn the Stonewall. I do have some comments about it after this game, but just props to you for being willing to put in the effort to learn it and stick to it. That's really cool. Okay, so going on. Okay, so here was the first sequence. Yeah, this is the first sequence. This is hard to see. The best move is bishop takes, because I want to practice visualizing. I don't want to move the pieces first. So if you take with the bishop, he has to take with the king. Or, I mean, he could move here, but he just loses a pawn. So if he takes with the king, then by moving this knight here, you have to remember, and this is hard, but he is being x-rayed by the queen. And a lot of times it's good to not only see or not only consider what pieces are directly attacking other pieces, but also consider what pieces are in the same line as another piece. What piece could be attacked by another piece if something was moved. And so you don't have to think in terms of grand tactical schemes. You just have to think in terms of, okay, this knight is on the same diagonal as my queen. Is there a way where I can move this knight and creating a threat? And so the answer is yes. And this is check, and he has to move, so he moves back, and then you win the knight, and you are going to have a pretty powerful attack on the king here. So, but again, no worries that you didn't see it. That's a tough tactical motif to see. So going on. Oh, now my computer. Okay, no, I thought my computer was about to start lagging. Never mind. And so again, this is fantastic that you saw knights in the center. Great job, 10 out of 10. Knights in the center are good. And so, and yeah, and then here again, you are shredding open the center. This is not necessarily an easy move to see, because someone may think, well, now it's blocking the bishop even more. Why should I do that? But you're opening the center, and that's fantastic. So good job. And this is another general thing. This is way easier said than done. But it sounds obvious when you say you need to think of what changes in a position after each move. And so, again, easier said than done. And so what changes here is this pawn is no longer protected. by a pawn. And so it's free. And also, just seeing knight moves can be really tough too. And so I recommend thinking backwards. And so you should always draw out the arrows. Where all is this knight going? Where all could it go? Like the other knight too. Like, where all could this guy go? But if you don't always have to do that, you can oftentimes think just in terms of what changed. Is there a way for me to exploit it? And the answer in this case is yes, you could take the pawn, but it's okay that you didn't see it. And so I think the point of b3 was to push h4, but instead of b3, even if you don't take the pawn, what I would do if I were you is I would further, these are tactical motifs, of course, but if you could further control the center, for one, this would be a fork if you could get a pawn here. But for two, if you just took and were opening up the center and started pushing pawns here to shut open his king side, that could lead to a really strong attack. And based on the games that I've seen of yours, I think you have really great attacking instincts. If you get the chance to place your pieces in such a position where you get to shred open the opponent's position, you go for it a lot of the time. And so I think by pushing b3, you are delaying the inevitable of when you get to, or when the center is opened, and you have the chance to open the center now, so you should go for it. And so, okay, so here, this is also something I wanted to point out. This is also very tough to see. No worries that you can't, or you didn't think to consider it, but something to think about is also how many pieces are defending any given piece or pawn. And so in this case, when he moves this pawn, how many pieces are defending it? There are 2 pieces defending it. How many things are attacking it? There are 2 things attacking it. So is there a way to undermine one of these pieces and take the pawn? Yes, there is. You could take the knight. He has to take back, and then, for instance, you win a pawn. And so I think the computer might recommend e5, but anyways, an idea, just in general, is literally on your fingers, count on your hands, count the defenders, count the attackers, and if you can undermine one of the defenders, then you'll be golden. That's fantastic. Okay. So now going on. Okay, so here I thought this was also a really good move. You're attacking his queen, and this shows attacking instinct. You're attacking the queen. You're also creating the threat of this fork, and you are inserting your knight into the enemy's territory, and that's really important. A lot of times I struggle with being proactive in my piece placement, and I can be more passive, but this is a very aggressive move, and I think it's fantastic that you played that. Let's see, how long did it take you to play that move? You play that move in 20 seconds. That's great. You're just let's go for it. So good job. And so then you go back, and that's okay, because you're under, oopsies, nice little move like that. You are under threat, kind of panic, but it's okay. It's okay. And if one thing to consider is, if one of your pieces is under attack and you think it's a good place piece, try and think of it as if you can create an attack of similar to greater value. And so this would do just that. So if he takes, and say you could take his bishop, which would be awesome. So now I hope my computer isn't lagging. Anyways, so now this is kind of positionally no good. And this is actually a really quick point that I want to make, which I think it draws on what we talked about earlier, is that this allows the next move which he plays, bishop b7. And so now his bishop is not attacking the queen, but they are now on the same diagonal, called x-raying. And so if you can avoid placing your own pieces on squares that are on the same line as other pieces that could attack them, while also remembering trying to put your pieces on places or on squares that are in line with other enemy pieces. Even if you can't attack them now, you're going to win so many more games. Easy peasy. And so, yeah, this was also, I wanted to point out, a really good idea. And it would work. It's very close to working, except that this next move comes with check. If it didn't come with check, this would be a fantastic move. So, again, like, I can't follow you. That's good ideas. Good ideas. And so, and this was the last moment I wanted to point out. It is really easy to get tunnel vision, especially when you're under attack, and you start to get panicked. You think you're getting checkmated soon, so you just focus on this section of the board. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm about to get checkmated. What do I do? And but try and breathe when you're panicking. Think about is there any way that I can create a threat? The answer in this case is yes, there is checkmate. And that doesn't always happen, but it happens more than you think. And so it's worth considering when you're under attack. Just take a moment, close your eyes and breathe, and see if there are any other options. And if there aren't, so be it. But maybe there are. And so, yeah, the game ends shortly, but it's okay. I think you played. You had some interesting ideas. You had some really good ideas, and I think you applied some principles very, very well. So now the last thing that I wanted to point out. 1 second, let me get to it. This is the last thing I wanted to talk about. Like I said, I genuinely think you have an attacking instinct. And here, we'll just go to rapid. Because rapid games, the longer games, are the ones that actually matter. I think you really do have an attacking instinct. If you see a sequence, you go for it, and that's great. You don't play passively. I think a lot of your moves are not naturally passive, and I think you play in terms of attack. So don't eat me alive or kill me when I say this, but I would consider, and hear me out, I would consider not using the stone wall and opening with e4 instead of d4. And again, hear me out. This is why. First off, you do win 58% of your games with d4, which is outstanding. That's massive. That's really great. And so, like, the system. You're really good at it. And, like, more power to you. That's fantastic. But let me go to with the black pieces. Okay, so when they play e4, you win 43% of the time. When they play d4, you win 33% of the time. And you've played more e4 than d4, and the point is e4 is a more aggressive opening. It's just it leads to more attacking positions, and d4 is a more positional opening. And when they play e4 against you, they put you immediately into what you are naturally comfortable with, which is attacking. And when they play d4 against you, I think that's a positional game. It's more positional, and it's more about long-term structures and ideas rather than just like kill them, go for the throat. And I genuinely believe that you would hugely benefit from playing more e4 and going for attacks. Overall, I think I'm so happy to see you and other streamers playing chess. It's just the best thing. I think this is the most fun game. I really love this game, and I hope you are too. I really do. And I hope you never get discouraged by like assholes who are just elitist. The chess community is. I've never actually been to a live chess tournament, but just the online chess community can be awful. I think that the big streamers are great, but the comment sections are so consistently awful. It's just a toxic mess of people jerking off their egos. I hate it. And so it's great that you're still playing, and I think you can absolutely be good. You can be really, really good. You can be really, really, really good, because it's just like anything else. It's just a game, and if you practice at it, you can be really, really good at it. And I'm still wouldn't consider myself really good at it. And like I said, only 1700. So one day I would like to be, at a levy level. But the point that I'm trying to make is that I'm very happy that you're still playing, for one. For two, I think you're an attacking player, not a positional player, and you should be playing e4. And just my opinion. But yeah, overall, I hope if you watch this, I hope some of it was helpful. Yeah, this is my first YouTube video. I hope that it wasn't. I hope it was okay. If I'd make more of these one day, I'm gonna look back at it and I'm gonna just cringe to death. But hopefully, it was kind of helpful. Yeah, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.